Greetings! Today we are going to talk about the evolution of operating systems. An operating system is a system software that manages computer hardware and software resources and provides common services for computer programs. In 1945, ENIAC was born. An acronym for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, is the first operational electronic digital computer in the United States, developed by Army Ordnance to compute World War II ballistic firing tables. ENIAC is used for general purposes, such as solving numerical problems. In addition to ballistic, the ENIAC's field of application included weather prediction, atomic energy calculations, cosmic ray studies, thermal ignition, random number studies, wind tunnel design, and other scientific uses. In 1949, Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, EDSAC, was introduced. EDSAC was built at the University of Cambridge Engineering by Maurice Walkes and others, the first full-size stored program computer to provide a formal computing service for users. It all used mercury delay lines for memory and 3,000 vacuum tubes for logic. Programs were input using 5-hole punch tape and output was via a teleprint. The first digital computer designed with internal programming capacity was the EDVAC, acronym for Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer, constructed in 1949. EDVAC was designed by J. Presper Eckert and John Matchley at the University of Pennsylvania, an arithmetic-only computer working with binary numbers rather than the decimal operation of ENIAC. In 1949, the Binary Automatic Computer, BINAC, was one of the first electronic computers. An early electronic computer designed for Northrop Aircraft Company by the Eckert-Matchley Computer Corporation. BINAC was their first product, the first stored program computer in the United States. In 1951, Universal Automatic Computer, UNIVAC, was the first commercial computer. It was designed by the same two men who designed ENIAC and EDVAC. UNIVAC was designed as a commercial data processing computer intended to replace the punch card accounting machines of the day. It could read 7,200 decimal digits per second, making it by far the fastest business machine yet built. UNIVAC was built from the start as a stored program computer, so it was different architecturally. Eventually, design like CTSS gave way to more modern MS-DOS system in the 1980s and on the modern Windows and OS X system in use today. In 1963, Master Control Program, which controls the function of the computer system as a whole and the running of application programs. It is therefore important to assess the operating system used on a particular model before initial commitment, because some of software is only designed to run under the control of specific operating system. Multiplex Information and Computing Service is a time-sharing operating system begun in 1965 and used until 2000. Multics began as a research project and was an important influence on system development. The system became a commercial product sold by Honeywell to education, government, and industry. Multics was intended to provide interactive access to many remote terminal users simultaneously in a manner similar to MIT's CTSS system. Multics combined ideas from other operating systems with new innovations. Security was a fundamental design requirement in order to meet the utility goals. The team's ambition was to Multics would change the way people use and program computers. A virtual machine is a virtual environment that functions as a virtual computer system with its own CPU, memory, network interface, and storage created on a physical hardware system. Software called a hypervisor separates the machine resources from the hardware and provisions them appropriately so they can be used by the VM. In 1973, Unix 4th edition was released. The system runs on a PDP-11 and comes with an editor, assembler, calculator, electronic mail compiler, and a bunch of utilities. Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, Doug McIlroy, and Joe Asana, among others, decided to redo the work on a much smaller scale. CP/M was an operating system that would theoretically run on a microcomputer if the machine-dependent parts were ported. CP/M was divided into three parts. First is the BIOS or the Basic Input-Output System. Second is the Basic Disk Operating System or BDOS. Third is the Console Command Processor or CCP. The BIOS handled the machine-dependent code, while the CCP accepted commands from the users like the shell on the Unix and Linux system. The Apple II was an 8-bit home computer produced by Apple Computers and which was the successor to the Apple I. Released in 1976, it was based on the original design of the Apple I and it introduced vast improvements and new features like a color display and expansion slots. In 1977, an advanced operating system called VAX or VMS, standing for Virtual Memory System, an innovation that effectively expanded the memory of the machine by allowing disk or other peripheral storage to serve as extra memory.
A 32-bit family of mini-computers sharing the same instruction set in virtual memory, the VAX 11780 was a hugely popular larger mini-computer and one of the earliest computers to use virtual memory to manage the, at the time, huge 32-bit address space of the computer. The smaller PDP-11 series was a 16-bit machine.
The first version of Windows, released in 1985, was simply a GUI offered as an extension of Microsoft's existing disk operating system or MS-DOS. Based in part on licensed concept that Apple Incorporation had used for its Macintosh system software, Windows for the first time allowed DOS users to visually navigate a virtual desktop, opening graphical windows displaying the contents of electronic folders and files with the click of a mouse button, rather than typing commands in directory paths at a text prompt. The second version of Windows, released in 1987, was an incremental improvement over Windows 1. This new version added overlapping windows and allowed minimized windows to be moved around the desktop with the mouse. The big claim to fame for Windows 2, however, was that it came bundled with Microsoft Word and Excel applications. Word and Excel were graphical apps competing against the text-based interfaces of then reigning competitors, WordPerfect and Lotus 123. The Microsoft apps needed a GUI shell to run properly, hence the bundling with Windows. Windows 3 was the third version of Microsoft's GUI-based operating system, released in 1990. This version of Windows was highly successful upon initial release. The system also included the casual games familiar to most Windows users, Solitaire, Minesweeper, and Hearts. However, any heavier gaming was still run directly on MS-DOS rather than through Windows, which was essentially a program that ran on top of DOS. Exiting to DOS means that the games had directly access to system resources that Windows would have tied up. GNU is an operating system that is free software, that is, it respects users' freedom. The GNU operating system consists of GNU packages as well as free software released by third parties. GNU is a Unix-like operating system. That means it is a collection of many programs, applications, libraries, developer tools, even games. Windows 3.1 allowed users to utilize several features previously not available in MS-DOS. One of these new features was the use of mouse, which allowed users to navigate and manipulate data on the computer without using MS-DOS command. Windows also helped introduce multitasking to the masses, which means you can run multiple applications at once without having to close out of each program before running another. Windows with other GUI operating systems are one of the many reasons computers have become easier and more widely used. In 1993, Windows New Technology is a version of the Windows operating system. There are two versions of Windows NT, Windows NT Server and Windows NT Workstation. Windows NT Server designed to act as a server in networks, and Windows NT Workstation for standalone or client workstation. A major release of the Microsoft Windows operating system, released in 1995. Windows 95 represents a significant advance over its precursor, Windows 3.1. In addition to sporting a new user interface, Windows 95 also includes several important internal improvements. Perhaps most important, it supports 32-bit applications, which means that the applications written specifically for this operating system should run much faster. And although Windows 95 can run older Windows and DOS applications, it has essentially removed DOS as the underlying platform. This has meant removal of many of the old DOS limitations, such as 640K of main memory and 8-character file names. Windows 98 is a heavily web-integrated operating system that bears numerous similarities to its predecessor, with most of the improvements being cosmetic or designed to improve the user's experience. But there are a handful of features that enhance system functionality and capabilities. Windows 98 offers support for several new technologies. Its most visible feature, though, is the active desktop, which integrates the web browser with the operating system. From the user's point of view, there is no difference between accessing a document residing locally on the user's hard disk or on a web server halfway around the world. Windows ME, short for Windows Millennium Edition, is an operating system released by Microsoft on June 19, 2000. Windows ME was an upgrade for Windows 98 and included additional fixes, supports, and applications. Windows ME was targeted especially at home PC users and included Internet Explorer 5.5, Windows Media Player 7, and the new Windows Movie Maker software, which provided basic video editing and was designed to be easy to use for home users. Most users choose not to upgrade to Windows ME because of various problems and waited until the release of Windows XP to upgrade. Windows XP is an operating system that Microsoft introduced in 2001. It served as an innovation of the Windows NT kernel and successor to Windows ME for consumers and Windows 2000 for enterprises. Before its official release in 2001, XP had been developed as two separate projects named Odyssey and Neptune until they were consolidated under the Whistler title. For years, computer users heard of a mysterious new operating system from Microsoft, codenamed Longhorn. In 2005, Microsoft officially removed the Longhorn codename and announced the operating system under the official name of Windows Vista. iOS can also refer to Apple's iOS mobile operating system that powers the company's mobile devices such as iPhones, iPads, as well as its Apple TV entertainment device. The Android OS is an open-source operating system primarily used in mobile devices. Written in Java and based on the Linux operating system, it was initially developed by Android Incorporation and was eventually purchased by Google in 2005. Windows 7 made its official debut to the public on October 22, 2009 as the latest in 25-year-old line of Microsoft Windows operating system and as the successor to Windows Vista, which itself had followed Windows XP. Enhancement and new features in Windows 7 include multi-touch support, Internet Explorer 8, improved performance and startup time, error snap, error shake, support for virtual hard disk, a new and improved Windows Media Center, and improved security. Another important change in Windows 7 is the replacement of Windows Vista's quick launch toolbar with a new super bar that makes it possible for applications to be pinned to taskbar. Windows 8 is the official codename for Microsoft's next generation operating system and successor to the company's Windows 7's OS. Windows 8 has been gaining considerable attention while in development for its Metro user interface, which is a significant departure from the traditional desktop interface featured in previous Windows release. Microsoft is seeking to implement the Metro interface across a large variety of devices, including the mobile smartphone, tablet computers, laptops, and desktop PCs. Windows 8.1 is a personal computer operating system that was produced by Microsoft and released as part of the Windows NT family of operating systems. Windows 8.1 aimed to address complaints of Windows 8 users and reviewers on launch. Visible enhancements include an improved start screen, additional snap views, additional bundled apps, tighter OneDrive integration, Internet Explorer 11, a Bing-powered unified search system, restoration of a visible start button on the taskbar, and the ability to restore the previous behavior of opening the user's desktop on logging instead of the start screen. Windows 10 is the latest release of Microsoft Windows operating system and the successor to the underwhelming Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. With Windows 8 suffering from mostly negative reaction by both enterprise and consumers, Microsoft chose to issue going with the logic next iteration of Windows 9, opting instead for the name of Windows 10. That's all. Thank you for watching.